G'day survivors, and welcome to the top 10 creatures that used to be utilized a lot but sadly have been left by the wayside on account of either the dino changing, another creature to replace it, or perhaps an item simply does the job better. This doesn't mean that the creature isn't cherished by the community, it just means that what made it special has been sort of diluted and swept under the rug. Starting from number 10 being the least redundant to number 1 being the most redundant. All, of course, just in my personal opinion from my years of official and unofficial PvP observations. So let's get this started. Starting off at number 10, the Microraptor, the aggressive Archaeopteryx. I bring this in as number 10 because I'm not sure what the reason is for its disappearance from PvP servers. I used to see it constantly. In fact, it's the reason I switched to unofficial back in early 2017. Because when it was released, that's all people used, and I got so frustrated with always being dismounted and killed that, yeah, I made the switch. For any players that haven't seen how the Microraptor is utilized against other players, definitely go and check it out, it's quite entertaining. But unfortunately, yeah, I haven't seen it for quite some time. Following close at number 9, we have the Pteranodon. Yes, I know what you're thinking, how is the Pteranodon obsolete? Well, it's simply been outclassed and is preferred underneath the Crystal Wyverns on Crystal Isles. After a Note 1, transferring to Crystal Isles to collect some crystal and passive tame a Crystal Wyvern, it's just so simple and easy. No saddle required, you get a faster fly, it's got better weight, better stam, better damage, has a ranged attack. I mean honestly, since Crystal Isles it really has been the new meta. The PT still has some uses though, especially if you don't have access to Crystal Isles, which is what makes it number 9. It's not completely redundant, but yeah, it's definitely been pushed around a little bit. Switching to number 8, we have the Rock Drake. Once an absolute staple in the community for almost a year after Aberration was released. But when Extinction came along, we got the Managarm, which quickly took the title as the terrestrial aerial combatant. Plus with the Mana being breedable and the Drake not, I guess mutations for the PvP community played a big part in the Drake's downfall. Still wielding some great abilities, it's simply outgunned and outpaced, which is why it's only number 8 on this list. Moving on to number 7, we have the Ichthyosaurus, our beloved OG dolphin. Once was the tame of choice when first entering the oceans, but since the release of Genesis 2 and having access to the Shadow Mane, this lovable critter is no longer the fastest passive aquatic friendly dino, and definitely doesn't have the combat ability to keep up with the Shadow Mane either, which places it where it is, perhaps still utilized to a small degree, but honestly it's a shadow of its former glory. Number 6 gives us the Beelzebufo, which actually took me a long time to come to this conclusion. It still has some amazing abilities, but ultimately if you need cementing paste fast, you either tame Achatina or raid beaver dams, regardless of whether you're early game, mid game or late game. And thanks to the newer maps, there's plenty of beaver dams to be found, which sort of makes this guy's main utility redundant, despite the fact that it's still a great creature. So let's see what we've got next. Coming in at number 5 is the Tropiognathus, the original aerial dogfighter. So when Crystal Isles first dropped, this was a huge sort of overpowering force at the beginning, especially with its grenades being able to damage structures. And then of course that got nerfed, so the dino was changed, and it's also been vastly overshadowed by the new dogfighter, the Astrodolphus. In terms of raw stopping power, maneuverability and speed, it's only a tame that I've seen sort of at the beginning of its appearance, and then as time's gone on the novelty's worn off and it's no longer utilized. But to be honest, I'm not surprised. There's now better options out there, and yeah, the Tropiognathus is sort of just sitting there idly by, just waiting for something to happen. Coming in at 4th place is the Mosasaur, Ark's original aquatic giga. Seeing an X variant for it come in on Gen 1, the Mosa is simply not seen as much as what it used to be, particularly when platform saddles were first introduced. I'm guessing this is most likely due to players preferring the Tuso if they need a large aquatic creature to dish out some pain. Even with the ability to use the platform saddle and even a tech saddle on top of that, it's just no longer seen in any sort of measurable number in PvP anymore. Sprinting into third place is the Raptor. What was once an absolute staple amongst the Ark servers for early game has been overshadowed by other more powerful tames like the Deinonychus, Direwolves and Ravagers and the such like. I think another big factor to its downfall is how quickly players can level through note running and how easy it is these days to actually get those notes and the experience and finding alphas and getting the items you need through drops, so on and so forth. So killing alphas is easy. People getting to level 100 in a day, all the other sort of meta style things that you see. So with all these mechanics involved, I think it's completely skipped over this once very proud mount. Coming in at second place, we have the Megalania, the original all-terrain climber. Having been a tame I would encounter every now and then because of its ambush abilities and transmitting of mega rabies to players. Unfortunately, it's been a very long time since I've seen one tamed, on official or even unofficial. So I dare say that its PvP abilities and its traversal utilities of old have been greatly outclassed by the agile Bloodstalker. Topping out at number 1 for the most redundant creature, the Thylacoleo, which oddly enough is my favourite tame in the game. But its abilities are simply no longer needed. If you need climbing ability, the Rock Drake or Bloodstalker do a better job. If you need a damage dealer, the Shadowmane has shown itself to be the true feline king of that prehistoric jungle. If you need a bleeder, a Deinonychus can stack its bleed far higher than the Thyla. The Thyla simply has no room except to scare us as we fly past it in the redwood forests. Everything that made it unique in the early days is no longer efficient, especially considering the extraordinary kibble needed to tame it at a good effectiveness. A few years back, this used to be the best battle mount you could get in the medium tier, but as the new generation creatures have arrived, this marsupial lion has been dethroned and placed off to the edge of the mantle. And that's my top 10. Thank you guys for tuning in. I have more top 10s planned for you in the future. Don't forget, these are just from my observations. I obviously haven't been on every single PvP server Ark has to offer, mainly just the oceanic ones. Making this list was rather difficult as many people have different metas and tactics they prefer. Please let us know what you believe should be a part of this list and let's get a civilized discussion going. I hope you have a good day and I'll see you in the next one.